to invest in something else. By choice. Not being forced to do it, but at least by choice, you should be able to do that. And if you've already reached the status where you're receiving Social Security or you're almost there, just keep in place what you have right now. Because you paid your whole entire life into the system, and that commitment has to be honored. But at the same time, you should be telling younger people they should be able to make the decisions for themselves what happens with their payroll taxes, at least a portion of it. Because otherwise, it is not sustainable. And it's been a very bad investment as far as the amounts that go into it and the return that comes out. So that's the one thing I would do. The second thing is, we talked about the healthcare bill. We have all these entitlements in this country, which we know. We know that Social Security is going to go broke. We know that Medicare is going to go broke. Why would we add on an entirely new entitlement in that whole situation when we know we have this demographic shift? It is unsustainable, and it is irresponsible fiscally to say everything's fine. They promised when they passed the health care bill that they were going to fully pay for it. Have they done that? Not to my knowledge, they haven't. Other questions?
I read your pamphlet, and then you talked about when you go to Washington, you say who you are. That to me is extremely important, because in my opinion, Ms. Giffords has said things, but what she does is not the same thing. Tell me how you think you're going to stay who you are, because it seems like everybody in the campaign is I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and then they get to Washington. How are you going to be different?
It's a great question. I get that a lot. And I think that the three things that to me at least keep me who I am, is my faith, being in the Army, and my family. Those three things. I cannot tell you how being in Phoenix, representing this area in the state senate, going to Phoenix, everyone tells you when you're in elected office how great you are, how wonderful you are, how everything you do is brilliant. You also get other people telling you just the opposite. And it's really easy for people to start believing what people tell them because they want something from them. And I think that the times I've been to Washington, D.C., it's like that on steroids. And I think the only way that you can prevent that from happening is by knowing who you are. And the greatest thing for me was being in the Army. Because every time I would go to my monthly drill, my commander, was just that lieutenant that he wanted to fetch him this or do that or whatever. And now I'm a captain and I can't use the lieutenant excuse anymore for screwing up. But at least I have that responsibility of being responsible for soldiers, but I also have the responsibility of doing what my commander wants me to do. And they're always honest with you and telling you what kind of job you're doing. I don't think that happens when people go to Congress. And I think you have to have a family that's going to tell you what they really think, and I think you have to encourage that in your staff and the people around you. You talk to any one of my staff, they'll tell you the first thing I do after I do anything is ask them, what mistakes do you think I made? How can I do better next time? I do that every single time.
How accessible will you be?
I love talking with people. This is my favorite kind of venue. Here's and this is for the camera as well. I told this gentleman today, I said, I'm glad they sent a tracker to track me today. I would love to be able to do the same thing for Gabrielle Giffords if she would actually hold a town hall. But she won't do that because she's afraid of you. She's afraid of you. She's afraid of you. She doesn't want to answer your questions. She wants to do the Congress on your corner where she goes to a shopping center and she gets to talk to you one at a time. But she doesn't want to talk to massive groups of people because she's afraid that someone's actually going to film it. That is not being accessible. That's not being transparent. I believe that if you want to tell people what you stand, if you want to stay in this office for the full 2-year term, then you need to actually be accessible for the people that you're going to be representing. Or there's no point in being there in the first place. Yes, sir.
What do you think of the concept of not paying any Social Security benefits to anyone who is not a U.S. citizen?
I don't think we should be giving out any benefits to people who are not citizens.
A lot of it goes across the border from people who came up here and worked and did whatever. Now we have a Mexican retirement program that we're funding also, in addition to the other flood that we're getting.
And I think we wouldn't have that problem if we actually enforced our work.
Well, that's true. What about those Mexicans that are receiving Social Security now? Would you cut them off?
I don't think that you should be paying any benefits to people who got in this country.
What if they came legally? Should we be funding retirement programs for green card aliens?
Well, if they paid into the system,
What's that got to do with it?
well, I guess then you just say, I mean, you might as well just say not having green carded aliens in the state, in the country.
No, we give them a job and they send all the money home to start with. And so
Well-
why should we fund their retirement as well?
I think that, first of all, you should only pay for benefits that you have equally paid into. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I don't believe that.
You don't believe,
I think they should pay into the system because they are here. I have a son who's a journeyman plumber who's been out of work for 2 years. So he hasn't paid into any system, I can assure you of that. The people that took his job are paying into the system. Why should they send money home while they're working here,
Well,
and
to
then
be
you
honest-
send it right after them because they paid into some system?
I don't know what the benefits are for green card aliens, so I'm not gonna,
Well, we do know, however, that the post boxes in Douglas, by the hundreds, get Social Security checks put in them by folks who come across the border and pick them up. So what is the
my
problem?
guess is that most of those people came in illegally. Otherwise, they would be sending them back
I
to their
understand
country.
all of that, but if we've got an American problem that faces American citizens because of the bankruptcy of the system that's sending money overseas,
Mhm.
what's wrong with the idea of cutting off the overseas part of it?
Well, let me find out I want to know all the details about it, because I honestly don't know.
I'm just kind of curious because, you know, we fund a lot of benefits for aliens, legal and illegal,
Mhm.
and whether or not we should do that at the expense of our own citizens
Right,
is just a question.
okay,
I don't know that anyone's ever studied it.
no.
Jonathan, I'd like to address for just a moment the question the young lady over there raised, and I have no reason at all to doubt the veracity, and I admire the answer you gave. But the single strongest force that will keep Jonathan Payton or anybody else, Jonathan Payton or who they are when they go to DC, are us sitting right here this week.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
We are the ones who are responsible for watching him. And when he doesn't do what he says he's going to do, we are the ones who are responsible for kicking his tail out. And that's the way the system works. And we all too often ignore that and establish a commission or do something else or get together and piss and moan rather than meeting our responsibility to stay informed and involved and on his shoulder.
Which is why we have what we have today.
You're absolutely right.
People aren't paying attention.
Here's something, I guess I'll give you something concrete. I'm willing to do a town hall every single quarter, open to whoever wants to go. That's something I want to do. Anybody can ask a question, the questions come by lottery. Gary will ask whatever question, and I'll stay as long as I possibly can to answer as many questions as possible. So, Gene.
As a veteran, I am eligible for TRICARE. TRICARE for life, here over 65, which I've been 15 years. There's been a bill before Congress all year that would stop a 21% cut in payment to, Medicare payment to physicians. They've been procrastinating this for the whole year. Last night, the Senate passed a bill that would delay that decision to cut payments to 21% until the end of November, after elections. Because it is a revision to a bill that was originated in the House, it has to go back to the House tomorrow, or Monday. But even if it passes in the House, it's only going to be a delay in reducing those payments, a delay until November. What's your position, and this is going to be something that's going to fall in your lap, you get elected, what's your position on reducing payments to physicians for Medicare, which